Janet Williams walked into the airport like any other morning, briefcase in hand, mind on her Pentagon briefing. But then a security officer stopped her, his eyes narrowing as if she didn't belong. Papers scattered, voices raised, phones recorded. And just like that, the world she trusted turned against her, not because of what she did, but who she was. A routine flight transformed into a battlefield of prejudice, power, and humiliation. How far would they go before the truth came out? But what happened next would push her into a nightmare that no one saw coming. Janet Williams had always moved through life with precision, a retired lieutenant colonel. Her days were measured by discipline and duty. Mornings began with early briefings, evenings with quiet reflection, and every decision weighed with responsibility. She arrived at the airport 2 hours early, her leather briefcase heavy with documents that could shape global decisions. Passengers hurried past, unaware of the battle she had faced. Overseas in conflict zones, in boardrooms where men had doubted her, and in everyday moments where prejudice tried to push her down. Today, though, she wasn't in uniform. Today, she was just another traveler, and that made her a target for eyes that saw only her skin. And as Derek Morrison's shadow fell across the gate, Janet had no idea the storm about to erupt would test every ounce of her patience, training, and courage. Janet moved through the gate with practiced ease, her Pentagon-issued documents in hand, unaware that Derek Morrison had already set his sights on her. His eyes narrowed, his grip on authority tightening like a vice. Without warning, he stepped in front of her, clipboard raised, and demanded to see her papers with a tone that left no room for refusal. Passengers paused mid-step, phones emerging like silent witnesses, as he rifled through the briefcase with deliberate aggression, scattering classified reports across the polished terminal floor. The air thickened with tension, a storm of disbelief, humiliation, and outrage rippling through the crowd. Derek's accusations grew louder, absurd, and laced with venom. Forged documents, identity fraud, threats to federal security. Janet's calm, military-trained composure met every insult with quiet authority. Yet the humiliation clawed at her chest like fire, her father's Korean War pin glinting in the sunlight as a reminder of her legacy and resilience. Fellow agents hesitated, caught between protocol and the growing spectacle of blatant racism, while passengers murmured their shock, some stepping forward, some frozen in helpless observation. Derek's fury escalated, twisting into physical aggression, shoving papers, grabbing at her jacket. Spittle fly with each shouted word, the terminal now a battlefield of prejudice and power abuse. Janet knelt to gather the papers, each movement precise, controlled, a testament to years of discipline under fire. But inside, her heart pounded, knowing the confrontation could spiral beyond anyone's control. Just as the situation seemed poised to break entirely, the radio crackled. Federal agents were on their way, requesting immediate access to escort her. Derek slammed his hand on the counter, denying the request, insisting he was in command. But Janet's training told her that the tide was shifting. Every passenger watching, every phone recording, every second stretched taut with anticipation. The moment was coming when authority, prejudice, and justice would collide, and no one in that terminal would be ready for what happened next. The terminal erupted in chaos as Derek Morrison's fury reached its peak, his hands trembling with rage, his voice a jagged mix of authority and hysteria, demanding compliance that no law or protocol could justify. Janet stood her ground, every inch of her military training and decades of experience converging in that moment, her gaze unwavering, her hands steady despite the weight of humiliation pressing down like concrete. Phones recorded every second. Passengers gasped, and colleagues exchanged uneasy glances as Derek lunged at her briefcase, tearing papers from her grip, each document fluttering to the floor like fragile confessions of a system that had long underestimated her. The air was electric with fear and disbelief, and Janet felt the sting of every insult, every assumption about her skin, every moment in life where her authority had been questioned simply because of who she was. Then, the unmistakable sound of boots on the polished terminal floor signaled their arrival. The federal agents, suited, commanding, unwavering, and saluting her with respect that Derek had refused to acknowledge. Time seemed to tilt on its axis as the agents moved past his disbelief, their presence a living testament to truth, justice, and recognition of her service. Derek froze, his authority evaporating in real time, powerless against the weight of undeniable proof, the law, and the eyes of everyone who had witnessed his misconduct. The crowd's murmurs rose to a roar, shock giving way to awe as Janet collected herself, documents in hand, her dignity intact, while Derek's anger and denial hung in the air like smoke from a burning bridge. And as a federal agent stood with her, ready to escort her through the gate, it became clear that this moment would not be forgotten. Every witness, every camera, every soul in that terminal now bore silent testimony to a reckoning long overdue. The question lingered in every mind watching. Could justice truly prevail in a world still grappling with prejudice? Janet walked to the terminal finally unharassed. Every step a quiet reclaiming of the dignity that had been stripped from her mere moments before. The federal agents flanked her, a visible acknowledgement of the authority and respect she had earned through decades of service, proof that truth and professionalism could pierce even the thickest veil of prejudice. Derek Morrison was left exposed, his abuse of power recorded, witnessed, and undeniable, a stark reminder of how prejudice thrives when unchecked. For Janet, the incident was a painful echo of a lifetime of facing bias, but it was also a triumph, a small, hard-won victory in the ongoing struggle against systemic racism. Across the airport, strangers who watched unfold could not unsee it. Phones and cameras held evidence. Social media carried it further, and a conversation that often went unspoken had erupted into public consciousness. The clash of authority and injustice left a lasting imprint not just on those involved, but on everyone who witnessed it. A reminder that prejudice can lurk in the most ordinary places, that dignity can be weaponized as courage, and that standing firm in the face of systemic bias is both terrifying and necessary. Janet's story, extraordinary yet painfully familiar, forces a question on every bystander. How many more times will brilliance, service, and integrity be questioned because of the color of someone's skin? And what will each of us do to change that?